Good evening. Thank you for those of you who have joined us here in person, those of you who are watching virtually. We apologize for the late start, but nevertheless, we are here. So, before we get started tonight, we're going to just go into a word of prayer. So, Lord, we just thank you for this day, God. We thank you for watching over us, for keeping us, for protecting us and allowing us to be here safely. We thank you for putting it on every single person's heart who is here to join us, to be able to study your word and to learn more about you, to be able to receive your word. And apply it throughout this week, God. We just ask that you would touch every single person who is listening, whether they are here in person or virtually, God. We just ask that you allow for them to be able to receive something out of the lesson tonight, God. We ask that you will just cover them during this time. We pray for our pastors, God, that you would just keep them during this time. We ask that you would just watch over them and protect them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So last week we had finished chapter 38 of Psalms, and as you guys know, we have just been continuing in Psalms during this portion of our studies, and part of what we had learned in this last chapter, just to kind of refresh before we go into this one, was just learning that David, or the psalmist who wrote chapter 38, was really coming from a place of like what's the word that I'm looking for? Rock bottom, essentially. He came from a complete turmoil place. He had been struggling in his body with every possible affliction, had really just been going through a lot and was worrying. I don't want to say worrying. He was more so concerned about his salvation and what he had done to put himself in the position that he was in, stating that he felt like his foolishness is what had put him in the position that he was in currently. He knew that he had sinned against God. He knew he had did some things that was disobedient to God, and so he wanted to come back to God and repent to him and let him know, Lord, I know that I have sinned in your eyes. I have done some things that was not pleasing to you, that I know you would not be proud of, that you would not be happy about, and I'm coming back to you just in total sorrow, in total grief of what I have done, and trying to acknowledge that I have done something wrong, and I want to turn my life around. I want to turn my ways and put myself in a position for you to actually heal, deliver me, and bring me out of the afflictions that I am in. He was suffering physically with, medical issues. He was also struggling with people who were coming to attack him, who were looking, to cause more destruction in his life, and then just the overwhelming guilt that he had from sinning in him, in his own mind, just going through a lot of things at once. And for me, the lesson was kind of just, or the text really just pinpointed how desperate he was for Christ, and how low he had allowed himself to get, to where now it was like the only thing that he could do was cry out to God and call out to God and ask him for his wisdom, his grace, his mercy, and his forgiveness. So in this chapter, we're going to kind of, continue on sort of in that same or similar position that David was in chapter 38. So reading chapter 39, I'm actually going to be reading this out of the Common English Bible just to simplify it a little bit more. So it says, starting verse 1, I promised I would watch my steps so as not to sin with my tongue. Promised to keep my mouth shut as long as the wicked were in my presence. So I was completely quiet, silent. I kept my peace, but it did no good. My pain got worse. My heart got hot inside me while stewing over it. The fire burned. Then I spoke out with my tongue. Let me know my end, Lord. And how many days do I have left? I want to know how brief my time is. You've made my days so short. My lifetime is like nothing in your eyes. Yes, as a human life is nothing but a puff of air. So I just want to stop there. I read verses 1 through 5. And he's, is stating here, I promise that I will watch my steps and that I would be careful in the things that I have done, that I would make sure that I didn't say anything that would be displeasing to you, that I didn't do anything that would be displeasing to you. We talked before in chapter 38 about how sometimes it's better for us to keep quiet. It's better for us to not say anything, to not respond to certain things, and allow for God to fight our battles for us. And so he's saying the same thing, or kind of reiterating this same thing. Lord, I said that I wasn't going to speak. I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to do anything. I was going to allow you to, take care of the situation for me. But he kind of contrasts this thing that he's talking about. And in verse 2 says, so I was completely quiet, silent. I kept my peace, but it did no good. My pain got worse. And I'm sure a lot of us can attest to moments where we felt like we were trying to take the high road and we were expecting for it to be better for us. It was going to create some type of, better outcome for us. And it felt like by us trying to be quiet, the situation just kept getting worse. By us not responding, the situation just kept getting worse. Whoever it is that we are trying to avoid, this person just keeps nagging us, just keeps poking us, whatever, situation that we are in. It just keeps, fighting us. And it's like, I'm trying to, take the high road here. I told you I wasn't going to do what I normally would do. I told you I wasn't going to respond in the way that I normally would respond. And so he's admitting to the fact that this is not easy. It's not easy for me to not react in the way that I normally would react. It's not easy for me to allow you to take control of the situation, because look at what's happening when I'm doing that. It feels like the situation is getting worse. Feels like I don't have any peace still. It feels like I'm still stressed out. I'm still overwhelmed. I'm still worried. I'm still going through every, affliction that I'm going through. So it almost feels like I might as well just say something. I might as well just respond. I might as well do something, because me being quiet doesn't seem like it's helping here. And so we understand that God fights our battles. He is the one that is going to, or that is in control over the situation. And I do believe that a lot of times when we're in that waiting period, the purpose of it is to really wait, or to allow God to see if we are going to let him actually take control, if we're actually going to continue that faith and trust in him to say, okay, Lord, I realize that this situation is not really getting any easier, and that it keeps testing me in this area that I thought I would be able to accomplish, but because I'm still in this current state, in this current affliction, I still want to continue to trust in you. I still want to continue to have faith in you. And I do believe that that is kind of one of God's ways of being able to really test us. We know that we're being tried by fire. We're constantly being tested to determine whether or not we're truly committed to God, and it's not that it's fun or that it's easy, to be in this race. It is not something that is, simple. It's not, for people who are just going to quit easily either, because there's a lot of things that we will have to go through. And so while he's, in this situation, he's just saying, like, this is not easy. You know what I mean? I told you, I promised you, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because I promised you. I remember when my niece was a little younger, she would get into fights in school all the time. And so I remember one year I told her, you know what, if you can go the rest of this school year without fighting, I'll give you $100 at the end of the school year. And she was like, okay. And so there was, I guess a few months later, she had got into some altercation with a little girl, and she decided to take the high road. She didn't fight her. And so when we were talking about it, she was like, the only reason why I didn't hit her is because I told you I wasn't going to do it. And I remember you said you was going to give me some money. And I was like, you know what? If that was your only motivation to not fight, then thank you. I'm glad you didn't do it. So David is essentially in this same position. Like, Lord, I'm only doing this because I said I told you I wasn't going to do it. I'm not doing it because I don't want to, because I do want to. But because we had this conversation and I told you I wasn't going to do it, then, I'm going to honor my word and I'm not going to do it. And so it shows his commitment to Christ, first of all. It shows that he's trying to honor his word and that he's trying to be respectful of the place that he is in, because he knows that prior to, he was in a position where, he had reacted and tried to do things his own way, and it did not work out for him. So he's trying to honor this. So then, if you continue, he keeps going. He says, "My heart got hot inside. While stewing over it, the fire burned. And then I spoke out with my tongue." So I'm definitely one of those people where when I get extremely upset, like my chest will just start like pumping, like I'm ready to go off. And I've been in a few situations where I have allowed myself to react out of that emotion because I was just so frustrated, so angry, or whatever. I let myself get so mad that I just reacted in that, in that moment. But it's better to wait, to walk away, do whatever it is, breathe, count to 10, whatever it is you have to do, to allow yourself to calm down first. Because a lot of times the things that we say in our anger can be much, much worse, and detrimental to the situation than the things that we say when we're more calm, and a little more level-headed. You can reason the situation a little bit when you're a little more level-headed. My brother, when he was younger, when he would get really angry, he couldn't like get his words out. Like he wasn't always able to articulate his frustration. So he would just be so angry, and then because he couldn't say what he wanted to say, he would just cry because he was just so mad, and you would just see him like boiling because if he's angry, he knows what he's angry about, but he can't even get it out, doesn't know how to articulate it, and it would just become like this boiling point to where it turned into all of this aggression and frustration. And so I've seen him grow to the point where now he can allow himself to calm down enough to where he can actually respond, to you in a way that allows him to articulate how he feels and express what it is that's bothering him, and really process the situation to be able to determine what it is that he's mad about. Because sometimes we kind of attack the surface situation, not realizing that there's something deeper underneath it that really triggered us, that really made us upset. But because I'm responding right there in that moment, it's easier for me to be like, well, yelling and pointing at all of this stuff and realizing, oh, actually, no, you triggered something else in me that caused me to respond this way, that caused me to react in this way. And so when we allow ourselves to calm down and not work from that place of anger and, heat, as David is describing here, my heart got hot. He was ready to fight. You know what I mean? So when we allow ourselves to not respond in that way, we're trying to show the maturity and growth, that we're allowing for God to do within us, but then also letting Him be in control. And I think that that's the probably biggest lesson that we can learn out of this situation that we are currently in, or the situation that David was currently in, was that while he's going through all of this stuff, while he's dealing with all of these situations and problems, he could at least allow for himself to stay committed to God and to make sure that he allowed God to be in control. And the biggest thing in this is that is that better? The biggest thing in this is that David knew that there was a time when he had attempted to do or to take matters in his own hands, and he realized that by him doing that, it made the situation worse. And so I do believe that that is also why he's trying so hard to change his response in this situation, because he's like, I've been there, done that. I know exactly what where that road takes me, so I don't even want to go down that road. However, it is very it's testing me. You know what I mean? That road is definitely testing me. It's pushing me to those limits. It's definitely making me want to get to that point. And God is always going to test us in the areas that we think we have passed in, to make sure that we still have passed and that we are going to continue to do whatever it is that we have learned. In these situations. So David is, you can tell he's definitely angry here. He's definitely frustrated, and it's a fight for him to try to handle this in the way that he had promised that he would.
So then in verse 4 it says, "Let me know my end, Lord. How many days do I have left? I want to know how brief my time is. You've made my day so short. My lifetime is like nothing in your eyes. Yes, a human life is nothing but a puff of air." So it's almost like he's gotten so frustrated where he's like, okay, when is it going to end? You know what I mean? Just let me know. If I at least know that I got this amount of time left, I'll just make peace with it and move on. You start to reason. It's like he's going through, the grief stages here. He's trying to find a way to reason with the situation now. And it one of the things that I am enjoying about studying Psalms and learning more about David is that he what's the word, connects so much to the commonplace people. You know what I mean? There's so many experiences that he has had that really just feel so relatable. We know what it feels like to be in a situation where we're so angry, we're so frustrated, we want to react, maybe we have reacted, and it might have, given us some type of satisfaction in the moment, but then later on, now, we're harping over the situation, maybe feeling a little bad about it, regretting it. Oh man, should I have said that? Should I have done that? Maybe I made the situation worse. I caused this person to now have this other issue, or now we have more problems because of the way that I responded. And so, one of the things that I really have been enjoying about studying Psalms is that David feels very relatable in a lot of the emotions that he's going through, and it's very interesting to see because David was so um, passionate about God. You know what I mean? He had a heart for Christ. That's the whole reason why he became king, because he was so willing to, stand in the gap for the Israelites at a time when he was a nobody. He was just a shepherd. You know what I mean? He just some random scrawny little boy that decided to fight Goliath. You know what I mean? David was literally nobody, and because of his heart and devotion to God, that is what made him or allowed him to excel and become so great, to be the person that he was. But even in all that greatness, he still has these moments of weakness. He's still struggling. He's still going through these problems within his body. He's still having these thoughts in his mind of like, Lord, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of, all of these problems that I'm going through. I'm tired of dealing with these people that I have to keep dealing with. I'm tired of feeling like I have to be the bigger person and I have to be the one to, um, make the right moves and make the right decisions. Like, why do I always have to be in this position? Why do I have to be the person that's going through this? And seeing how in chapter 38 he says, I realized that it was my foolishness that brought me to this place. And then now in 39 saying, but I am hot, okay? I'm mad. I'm ready to fight. I'm tired of these people. You just see him going back and forth in these emotions, and it makes it so relatable, because I think sometimes we can be so harsh on ourselves because we think that because we have, asked God for forgiveness, or that because we have, we've gotten saved, or, whatever, we feel like we're getting ourselves on the straight and narrow, that means that we're just not going to go through, human error. We're not going to have situations that kind of just take us out of place a little bit. And that's not the case. You know what I mean? We're human. God knows that. He knows that we struggle time and time again. And to see the very people that he even called to be in position, these same people, he was the one that anointed David to be king. He was the one that placed David in the position that he was in. And yet here he is watching David go through this mental battle, this physical battle, because of his own errors, because of his own sins and his own afflictions. Um, this is something that is normal. You know what I mean? Like, us failing is normal. It's not something that God just like turns a complete, like, like he's just disgusted by. I do believe he's disappointed in us. I don't want to say that, but at the end of the day, he knows that we are human, and that's what grace and mercy is for. Moses went through the same exact thing. God anointed Moses to be in the position that he was in. And Moses said, look, I'm tired of these people. Why do you have me leading them out of the wilderness? And they just keep complaining. And we've been here for years. I'm tired. Like, put somebody else in this place. I don't want to do it anymore. And when he went to God on their behalf to ask them, for water, God said, speak to the rock. And he struck it because he was so angry. So we've seen examples in the Bible of people that God has anointed, that he's put in position to be exactly where they're supposed to be. And yet, even in these moments of their greatness and these moments of their strength, they have these weak moments. They have these moments where they're struggling. They have these moments where they're tired, they're frustrated, they're even arguing with God. Job sat there and had almost a mental episode going back and forth with God. One minute he's like, Lord, I trust you, I believe in everything that you're going to do. And then the next minute he says, you know what, take me out of here. Curse the day that I was born. I don't like none of this. And it's very normal for him to have that reaction. He lost everything in a day, pretty much. He lost all of his children, all of his livestock, his home was destroyed. He lost everything. It is very normal reaction for him to have the feelings that he had. However, for us to be in this race with God, for us to be in this, Christian life, the biggest thing that we are trying to learn here is commitment, is consistency, is faith, is trust. We know that God is consistent with us. We know that he's committed to us. We know that he's constantly going to be there for us, even in moments when we're not there for him. And so all he wants us to do, or all he really wants to see from us, is that we're trying. I'm not really running across the finish line. I might have crawled there, but I'm still going. I'm still moving. I'm still fighting. There was a couple times where I sat back down. It was a funny video I seen the other day. They were having a baby race, and a group of parents had sat their babies down, and they're like, see if they can get to the other side. And there's one baby who literally crawls all the way to the other side, just stops. And for a good 2 minutes, just did not move. And the parents you're right there. Please just cross the finish line. You're literally right there. You're standing, just touch it. All they need you to do is touch it. And the baby just randomly decides to turn around and go back. So he loses the race. And it makes me think of that, because a lot of times we tend to have that same thing, where we feel like I'm going strong, I'm right there with you, Lord, I hear you, I'm right there with you, and then we get into one little situation, it's like, all right, now I'm done. That was a lot. I didn't want to deal with all of this, I didn't realize that this was going to come with this many problems, I didn't sign up for this, I don't know. And so we struggle, you know what I mean? But it's human for us to struggle. We're not. Yes, we were meant to be perfect, but we are living in a sinful world. So imperfection is very normal. It's a normal human error. The thing that we do wrong is by not allowing ourselves to be corrected, by not allowing ourselves to find our way back to Christ, by not admitting to what our wrongdoings are. And in this way that David is in, and saying, you know what, Lord, I know I did some things wrong. I know that I was in a few issues, and just being honest, this is not easy for me. This is, you already know how I am. You know that I'm ready to fight in a minute. You know that I'm ready to go off in a minute. You know that I'm even this person, they got one more time to say something to me before I'm as fast. So he already knows who we are. He knows the person that he created, and he knows the situations that put us in the positions that we are in now. So it's not news to him for you to react in the way that you have reacted. You are not surprising God in anything that you have done. But it's our commitment to him. It's our, faithfulness to him. It's us showing him, in spite of all of this that I'm going through, I'm still going to stay here. I'm still going to stick by you. I'm still going to show you that I love you. I'm still going to show you that I'm committed to you, because I want you to see that I'm trying, that I'm at least, trying to make sure that I get to the finish line. I want you to be able to say, well done. So if it's simply because I, took little baby steps the whole entire way, then I'd rather do that than to, keep letting myself just fall back and, have to keep starting over from scratch. I'll take the little baby steps if that's what it takes for me to show you that I'm trying and that I'm committed to this. And so David is in this position, and this is one of the things that I'm enjoying about this chapter, and really just Psalms in general, is because we get to see David in his most vulnerable place. We get to see him in this state of I have nothing left in me. I've already done all of these things that were considered great, and yet now here I am in these, issues and problems that I really didn't expect to be in. And I know some of it is my fault. But I'm tired of being here. I'm tired of being in this position. I'm tired of struggling with these issues that I'm struggling with. And yet, he's honest with God. He lets him know, Lord, this is the thing that I'm going through. Here are the struggles that I have, and I just want you to know this is the fight that I'm fighting right now with you. So, I'm going to trust that you can take care of it, but I'm also letting you know this is a big one for me. It's taking a lot out of me to try to do this the right way. So then, continuing in verse 6 here, it says, yes, people wander around like shadows. They hustle and bustle, but pointlessly, they don't even know who will get the wealth they've amassed. So now, Lord, what should I be waiting for? My hope is set on you. Deliver me from all my sins. Don't make me some foolish person's joke. I'm completely silent. I won't open my mouth, but because you have acted, get this plague of yours off me. I'm being destroyed by the blows from your fist. You discipline people for their sin, punishing them. Like a moth, you ruin what they treasure. Yes, a human life is just a puff of air. So he's going into the interesting thing about this is he kind of changes gears here and stops kind of talking about himself and just seems like he's speaking a little more generally. And he says, people tend to search for this wealth and, working for some lifestyle that they don't even know they'll be able to keep. They're not sure who it'll pass down to. They're not sure, whether or not it'll stay with them or anything like that. And yet they're, putting so much effort into these things. And I think David is kind of like reasoning where he is in this moment and trying to figure out, I guess it almost seems like he's trying to encourage himself a little bit, because then he says, okay, well then what is it that I'm hoping for? So if I'm watching people struggle to attain things and put in all this work to attain things that they're not even sure they're going to be able to keep, then why am I putting so much effort into, all of this meaningless stuff? Why do I need to hope for all of these things? Now, it is important for us to have hope. I don't want to, tell you guys to get rid of all your hope. Don't say I told you that. So it is important for us to have hope. But I think he's shifting gears to say that the things that I once hoped for were things that were not necessary. I was like those people who was trying to attain wealth and treasures that I was not going to be able to keep. So now I'm just shifting it to where it relies on you. My hope is whatever it is you desire for me to have in my life. It's whatever it is that you want for me to have. And so it almost like he's reasoning with himself. Like in my mind, I see him just kind of talking to himself and having this conversation and being like, okay, I'm going through all of this, I'm struggling with all of this, but I'm realizing the importance of the lesson that I'm trying to learn here. One, realizing that I can't take matters into my own hands, that I can't do things on my own will and accord and assume that God is going to just, put his stamp of approval on whatever it is that I've done because I thought that was the right thing to do. But then also let me shift gears so that I'm not putting my hope and trust in the things that are not necessary, that are not going to provide me any type of wealth, real true wealth, you know what I mean? Any type of longevity in something, let me shift gears and realize what's really important here. These are things that are all just gonna go away anyway. So there's no reason for me to have this type of mindset on these things. Pastor.
Well, it's almost like he's telling God on one hand all these lovely things, but at the same time, I don't know if he really mean it.
Right.
He say, I was dumb, I opened my mouth because that did it. Remove that stroke, away thy hand from me, consume me by the blows of the hand. So he's telling God, you're doing all these things to me, God. It's almost like he's trying to bargain with God to stop the punishment.
Right.
And I think that's how we do sometimes we bargain with God to stop the pain we're going through and telling God, okay, if you remove this, then I promise I'll do that.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like our children. I ain't gonna do it no more. I ain't gonna do it no more, Dad. Please, Dad, don't do it. Don't beat me no more.
I know what you mean.
You know, so it sounds like David is on one hand trying to tell God to stop the chastising of him, because you know he's trying to say, I'm gonna do right this time. You know, I'm gonna make sure I do what's pleasing in your sight. But the Bible says we reap what we sow.
Right.
So if there was consequences behind your action, you got to kind of, you know, walk it out.
Right. Right.
And sometimes I think we don't want to walk out the things that we have caused conflict in our life about. We want the quick release rather than asking God, how can I get through it?
Yeah.
So just tell me how quick I'm going to get out of it, and I promise I'll go on to do something else. So I think we have to kind of reframe our thought a little bit and begin to ask ourselves, that's all it takes, why am I going through this? You know, David seemed to think that he knows why he's going through it, but at the same time, he's telling God he wants him to do all these different things. You know, don't punish me so hard, don't beat me so bad. But at the same time, I want your blessings. So you got to learn from the mistakes that you make. That way, you don't have to repeat the process. So how do we not repeat the process?
That's a real question.
Yeah. How do we find ourselves not repeating the same test over and over again?
By actually learning the lesson that was necessary.
Okay.
So in this, just using this as an example, in the last chapter, David said that he knew his foolishness is the thing that caused the situation to be worse.
Right.
So if he really felt like it was his foolishness that caused that, then the next time he's in a situation, I need to make sure I'm not being foolish, that I'm using some type of wisdom when I handle the situation so that I don't get into this revolving door of the same problem over and over again, or the same test over and over again. So if we can actually recognize what it is that God is trying to teach us and show us, then we can, we don't have to worry about dealing with the same, I don't want to even say that, because I don't think that we still will, because God is constantly going to test us. You know, he's constantly trying to prove, okay, did you really learn that lesson? Did you really, did you just say that just because, you know, you were trying to just get out of it? Or is this something that you really truly, like, proved in your heart that you know? And so, not so much that we won't go through it again, but that we'll just be wiser the next time we go through it. So I recognize, okay, Lord, when you put me in this situation, this is what you were trying to teach me. This is what you were trying to get out of me. And so the next time I'm in a situation similar to this, or maybe even not even similar, but it's still the same type of lesson, I can at least use the wisdom that I have gained from the last situation that I was in and apply it to this one, so that I can show God that I actually really did learn something from what he put me through, and that I wasn't just, you know, doing this for the moment. It wasn't a temporary, you know, lesson or change for me. This is something that was actually long lasting.
So what you're saying, we can't be like that baby and sit there at the line. We need to go ahead and cross it and get to that and finish that test.
Right, exactly. And I remember in school, my teachers used to say, because sometimes, you know, when you didn't know the answer, you just skip it. And you probably not write nothing down, not circle anything. And our teacher used to say, it's better for you to at least take a guess than for you to not answer it at all. Because if you don't answer it, it's completely wrong. So if you at least guess, if you at least just write down something that you know, I can find a way to work with you. Because maybe you did know more than what you thought you knew, but because you didn't even attempt it, you didn't try it, I have to mark it wrong. And it's almost like that's the same way that we go about life. If you just don't even attempt it at all, then how can he prove to you that you have the strength that you're looking for, or that you have the peace that you're looking for, you have the joy that you're looking for? You didn't even try. You didn't even, you know, you just walked away from the situation and tried to, you know, sweep it under the rug. I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going to, you know, handle it. But you're going to keep in this, you know, situation. You're going to find yourself in another problem that you don't know the answer to, because you didn't learn the lesson, you know what I mean? You didn't even attempt it the last time. So now here you are in another question or another problem that you don't have the answer to, because you made no attempt to get it the last time. And so if we at least just try, he can, okay, I can work with that. You didn't really know too much there, but there was a little bit of knowledge that you had to at least, try that. So we can work with that. We can expand on that. We can, maybe start back, put you in another situation where you can kind of hone in on the part that you knew. And then when you get that part, now we can expand it and make it more, give you more wisdom, to where now you're able to apply it more to other situations. But when you make no attempt at it at all, it's like, I can't teach you anything. I'm trying to show you something, and you're refusing to learn because you're not even attempting to go through the situation at all. You refuse to acknowledge the problem. You won't address the situation. You won't talk about it. You won't deal with it. Anytime it comes up, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to discuss it. And it's like, I'm trying to get you to see that you have the tools that you need in order to get through this situation. But you have to actually deal with it in order to recognize that those tools are there. You have to actually make some type of attempt or effort to realize, oh, okay, the Lord was giving me strength, or he was giving me peace. He was giving me wisdom in these situations. I was just being foolish and not applying it or not receiving it. So when we actually let God teach us and show us something, because that's ultimately what we are doing, sometimes we tend to look at it from our little earthly minds and being like, I'm going through all of this stuff, what is going on? And not realizing that all of these things we are going through are really just lessons, you know what I mean? These are just questions that we are being asked, we need to figure out the answers to. And if we just let God show us what it is that he's trying to show us, then we can actually learn that thing that he's trying to teach us. But if we keep avoiding it, then we're never going to have it. And you unfortunately find yourself in another position where you needed strength, you needed wisdom, you needed, that word to be able to speak to yourself, to get through this situation. But because you never attempted it before, now you're struggling. You're struggling much more than what you would have been had you just let yourself go through it the last time. So hope that answered your question. I was long-winded, but hope that answered your question. He says in verse 8, deliver me from all my sins. Don't make me some foolish person's joke. And this was the same thing that he said in the last chapter. Don't let these people get the satisfaction out of seeing me struggling. Don't let them see me in this weak place. And it's almost, I don't know, I think I'm kind of indifferent to that, because while yes, I don't want anybody to have the satisfaction of my, problems or sadness or afflictions, but if it was my foolishness that brought me there, then as Pastor said, that's the consequence that I'm going to have to accept. And hopefully, I can do the work that I need to do to allow God to raise me back up, to be in a better position. So yeah, they might be laughing at me now, but they'll see me in a better position and realize that God brought me out. And so it almost seems like David is kind of speaking from a selfish place here. I don't want these people to get the satisfaction out of what I'm going through. But you put yourself there. You know what I mean? You're the reason why you're going through it. So what did you expect? You know what I mean? You fell in public. I don't know what else you want me to say. People seen it. So I don't, how do you expect people to not react to it? And I think sometimes that can be kind of like a stumbling block from us, because we don't want people to see inside our house. You know what I mean? We don't want people to see what's going on with us. I don't want you to focus on all of the problems and the errors that I'm going through. And so we often put on this mask or this facade, like everything's cool, everything's great, I'm fine, I'm perfect, I'm happy, my life is great, there's nothing wrong. And deep down, we're hurting, we're broken, we're, suffering, we're going through whatever it is that we are going through. And when you don't, I guess, allow yourself to be vulnerable, you prevent yourself from being able to actually receive the help that you need, because you don't know who it is that can relate to what you're going through. You don't know what it is that wisdom or knowledge or experience that these people may have to, help you through this situation. So there may be, a bunch of people in the crowd laughing, but there's still people who are praying for you. There's still people who are there. When Jesus was on the cross, there was a bunch of people who were mocking him, and yet he still had his mother there. He still had a couple of the disciples there who were still praying and saying, no, this is the Messiah. Why are you guys, doing this to him? So in the midst of all of these people who are mocking him, he still had these people who loved him, who supported him, who was still there for him during this time of his death. So we don't know exactly what it is that God may be doing in the midst of what we are going through. And while, yes, I don't want to endure the embarrassment of whatever it is I may be going through, at the end of the day, my growth in salvation is what's most important. So if I have to be embarrassed a little bit in order to grow and to actually allow myself to be redeemed, then I'm just going to have to be embarrassed, because I didn't care when I was actually doing whatever it is I wanted to do. You know what I mean? That part didn't matter. But now that I have to deal with the embarrassment of it, it's, oh no, hide me. I don't want to be in this position.
I guess you see a key word, being vulnerable. And I think sometimes people don't want to be vulnerable because they think being vulnerable is a sign of weakness.
Right.
But being vulnerable, how many people that you ever seen that's been vulnerable, that when someone comes to their assistance?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes being vulnerable brings you help.
Right.
It brings people to your rescue. But if you're trying to portray this tough man or tough woman, people gonna kind of keep their distance because they believe that you can handle it. And the Word of God said, "My strength is made perfect in your weakness."
Amen.
So sometimes we got to show that we are vulnerable, we are broken in that area. That way, God can come to assist us. And when we sit there, not like we got it all together. God said, "Okay, you got this. Are you good? I'm gonna let you work through this."
Right.
But you got to be like David. You got to begin to cry out. So it kind of like I said, David's kind of like in this place of somewhat of pride, a little bit, it seemed like. But yet, he understood that there were some things that he caused himself. So sometimes it's good to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can get the assistance that you need. Now you shouldn't always be vulnerable. All right, you should always be the one that's damaged goods all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or to come a time in life you got to be made whole in that area. And we live in a society now that we got a lot of people are damaged. That's why you see so much stuff that they try to portray something on these different sites, Facebook, Instagram, whatever those different sites they use. They try to portray this image that they have it all together, but deep down inside, there's a fight or there's a war that's going on the inside of them. If they open their hearts and stop trying to display that they got it all together, but let those that are close enough to them that can strengthen them. Because you don't want to tell everybody your business.
Right.
But you want to be able to tell those that you can trust in your circle enough, I'm hurting, and I need to be undergirded by you. I need you to pray for me. I need you to hold me up in this vulnerable time of my life. And I think people will help you, but if you portray that you're always a strong person, people are always going to pull on you. They're always going to try to draw from you because you present yourself as being this great warrior. So what they're going to do? They're going to come to the warrior. They're going to come to the one that have this image. But we got to get to a point of life that, as you say, we got to be real with ourselves, be willing to be vulnerable, and ask God to heal us. We got to be willing to ask God for the help that we can receive the help. So He said, "I'm a person up in the time of trouble." So when trouble comes, God, I need some help. If I'm out there drowning, I got, in order for me to get the proper help, I got to say help. If I don't, I'm gonna go up under it, especially if I can't swim. If you can't swim and you can't swim, you don't holler for help. How do you expect somebody to rescue you?
Exactly.
No, I got to make my voice be heard. That way, other people's attention can now be geared toward me. That someone that can swim can jump in and save me. But if I don't say nothing, I look back, you gone, so well, they were right there. I don't know where they went. Next thing you know, they dragging the water.
Right.
Because why? I didn't ask for help. I was too prideful to say I couldn't swim. That's why I tell my kids now, listen, don't get too close to the edge, because listen, Daddy can't help you. You stay close to the edge now. If you stay close to it, I can reach in and grab it. But you got there in the deep, I don't know. It's me or you. But anyhow, you got to be able to ask for help when that time come in our life, and not be so prideful that we begin to hide what we're going through, and to be able to be rescued by loved ones, by God, because God will send you someone to rescue you in that place if you're willing to be vulnerable enough to say, God, I need you, and not allow pride to cause you to stay in a place where God wanted to deliver you at.
Right.
And sometimes pride keeps us in a place where God is trying to deliver. He said, if you just ask for help, I can bring you out. But because sometimes who may be the one that can help you, you don't want to ask them for the help. Yeah, I ain't too keen with them. Sometimes God want to build a relationship with you through them. And you don't even see it, but you too quiet for it, so you ain't got time for them. No, God trying to work something out through you, but you got to let that pride down.
And I think that coincides with like letting go of control. Because a lot of times it's just you trying to control the situation and say, well, everything is fine, everything's good, everything's okay. When really it's like, you know, you're putting a Band-Aid over a flesh wound. You know what I mean? We all see you bleeding. You know, we all see you need more work than what you trying to say you need. But if you're not acknowledging that there's more to this problem, you won't acknowledge that there's more to this problem, then we can't give you the help or the resources that you need. There was a demonstration that I seen, I want to say it was Pastor Michael Todd did this demonstration, and he had someone come up and they held a bunch of objects, and he was saying, okay, these are all the problems, and so now I'm going to try to start giving you the solutions, the blessings, but the person couldn't hold on to them. So he said the only way that you can actually receive the blessings or the solutions is you have to let go of the problems. You got to drop it. And until you do that, then you will finally be able to receive what it is that God is trying to give you. And so sometimes when we are, being prideful and refusing to be vulnerable, we're basically taking everything and trying to control it and hold it all in. But when we're doing that, we're not allowing God to actually pour into us or to, feed us the things that we are in need of. So this whole entire time, you don't realize that you're weighed down because you've been carrying all this baggage, and you're telling yourself, it's fine, it's good, I'm fine, I don't need any help, I'm good, I'm fine. When you need all of the help because you've been carrying this load for too long. You've been holding on to this baggage and all of these issues and conflicts and things, thinking that you can manage all of it on your own, when really that's not even your responsibility to do. God has not put you in the place to be your own savior. You know what I mean? He has not made you to be the person to bring you out of your own situation. That's what He is for. So when you can let go of these problems and say, you know what, Lord, I'm putting these in your hands now. I need you to pour into me the things that I need in order to keep going and to deal with these issues that I'm going through, so that I don't have to feel so weighed down, so stressed out, so overwhelmed, whatever it is that I'm going through. If you just, give me what it is that I need, I'll let go. I'll do, the part that I need to do so that you can actually pour into me and do, the part that you've been trying to do. But if we don't know how to let go control, then we're going to keep finding ourselves in these, stressful states and these positions where we can't heal or be delivered from the issues that we are in. So he dropping down to verse 10, he says, "Get this plague of yours off me. I'm being destroyed by the blows of your fists. You discipline people for their sin, punishing them like a moth. You ruin what they treasure. Yes, a human life is just a puff of air." So he's saying the same thing he said earlier in the text here. It's everything just kind of goes just like that. And I believe it's in Ecclesiastes. There's a time for everything. And so recognizing that, time comes and it goes, you know what I mean? Money comes and it goes, life comes and it goes. And so I think it, seems like he's, saying like, this is, I believe in chapter 38, he was saying like, you gave me all of these problems. You gave me all of these issues that I'm dealing with. And maybe that's, like you were saying, him trying to not take responsibility for his own actions and, not realize his own part in the problem. But also saying, Lord, I don't want to keep going through the things that I'm going through. And so if we can have that place or that type of heart with God and say, you know what, I realize what I have done and what, I need to do in order to get out of this position. Like, just get me out of this place that I'm in. I don't even want to be here anymore. I'm tired of going through it. And like Pastor was saying, this needs to come from a place of like genuineness, and not just because we're just trying to get out of it right now, because we just don't want to deal with it right now. Okay, you get me out of here, you know, I got you. And then the minute God delivers us or heals us, we just abandon him. You know what I mean? This needs to be something that we're fully committed to. So really just having a heart of being like, Lord, I recognize what I have done wrong and how I have put myself in this current place, in this current state, and now I need you to bring me out of it. So finishing up here, these last two verses, it says, hear my prayer, Lord. Listen closely to my cry for help. Please don't ignore my tears. I'm just a foreigner, an immigrant staying with you, just like all my ancestors were. Look away from me so I can be happy again before I pass away and am gone. So this is very interesting kind of statement here. You know, obviously we've heard David mention this before. Lord, hear me, hear my cry, turn your ear towards me. I need you to hear what I'm going through. We hear him say this a lot in these 39 chapters that we have read, where David really wanted to make sure that God was listening to him. And I wonder if that was almost because he was a little insecure in thinking that God wasn't listening to his prayers. You know, we've already seen him in these vulnerable states. So I wonder if David ever felt like, I keep asking God to do stuff for me, and it just feels like he's not answering me. It feels like he's not listening to me, or he's not hearing me out. And so I'm sure many of us, as I was saying before, one of the things that I love about Psalms is that David is so relatable to a lot of what we experience and go through, because I'm sure we've all said that same thing to ourselves, like, God, you're not listening, because I done said this prayer like 10 times already, and it feels like I'm still going through the same issue. Like, you must not be listening to me. And so he, keeps reiterating this thing. Lord, listen to me, hear me. I really want you to understand that I'm going through something right now, and I need you. I need you to help me through this situation. I need you to help me get out of this current state that I'm in. But I think God loves that. I think he appreciates that, because then it shows that we're searching for him, that we're yearning for him. I'm going to keep crying out to you because I know I need you, and you're the only person who can save me and deliver me out of this situation. And so I almost want to say that I really believe that God likes to hear, not that, he's like being like mean about it or anything, but that, he just likes to see that we're finally in this place where we're actually trying to cry out to him, especially when, if things were good, we weren't doing that. It's like, okay, now you finally calling me, now you need my help. Now finally, I was waiting for you to come back to me. So when he sees us going through, struggling, yes, he wants to answer, he is going to answer, but at the same time, it's in this moment where he really needs to see that we're gonna continue, you know what I mean, where we're gonna be steady in this situation that we are in. I'm going to keep crying out to you. I'm going to keep searching you. I'm going to keep, looking for you, because I need you to answer this situation. I need you to, heal me from this problem. I need you to save me from this problem. I need you to deliver me from this issue, or even if we're not praying for ourselves, but if it's, for someone, I need you to, come answer this. I need you to handle this situation. God can see that we're committed enough to him to where we keep seeking him. And hopefully in that goes back to that learning a lesson thing. Hopefully in that we can realize, okay, this needs to be something that I'm doing continuously, not just while I'm going through this situation, but even after he brings me out of this situation, or after he finally answers my prayer. In the same way that I'm seeking him now, I need to be seeking him, afterwards. Hopefully in that moment we can realize, okay, I put so much devotion into these prayers. My prayers changed. I was praying longer. I was praying for more people. I was praying about different things. I stopped being selfish in my prayers. I maybe was addressing God differently. I decided to start coming to church more. I'm reading my Bible more. I'm gaining more wisdom. Now that God is making the scriptures make sense to me, we're gaining some type of new knowledge or new wisdom, or just a closer connection to him now when we're in, these afflictions. And so I do believe that sometimes maybe God answers when he does. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So he's going to respond when he responds. But I believe that he does that because he wants to help you see, like, this is what you need to be doing constantly. This is what this is how you need to engage with me constantly. I don't want to just see you, you know, when something is wrong. I want to see you when things are good too. You know, I don't want to just see you when it's just you in trouble. But when other people are around you, I want to see you praying for them too, because that's what we are here for. You know, we're supposed to be strengthening each other. So it's not just about me, but it's about those who are around me. So when I see my brother, my sister going through something, I can hold them up in prayer. I can encourage them. I can motivate them, uplift them in whatever capacity that I have. But God needs to see that commitment from us. He needs to see that we're actually trying to search for him, that we're looking for him, that we're seeking him, and that we're trying to get whatever it is that we need out of him. And that afterwards, we are still going to do that. We're still going to have that same love and drive for him that we had when we were, you know, in the valley struggling. When we finally get to the mountain, we're still going to say, you know what, Lord, thank you, because I learned so much in that valley. Amen. And I went through so much in that valley, and it taught me to get closer to you. It taught me to build a better relationship with you. And now I feel like I have the strength that I need to keep going. So if I get to another valley, I know exactly what to do. I know exactly how to handle myself in that situation and not go back to whatever old habits I had before. So I believe that God, you know, likes to see us cry out to him, because it shows that we're trying to get something out of him. And it you know, it gets to a point where it really shows our heart, you know what I mean? Because now that I really need something, I'm coming to you in whatever way I can, you know what I mean? Whether it's snot nose, I'm crying, you know, I'm on the floor, whatever it is I need to do, I'm coming to you for real, because I really need something, you know, I need you to handle me or handle this situation that I'm in. So it shows our commitment to him, and it shows how much we love him. So that is all that I have for you guys. Thank you so much for this lesson. Yeah, one of this things that I've really just been enjoying about studying Psalms is just how much David relates to us. I can definitely say that I have been in some of these situations that he has been in. I've definitely been a person who I just get hot. I'm ready, like, Lord, man, these people get on my nerves. But we have to make sure that we are being committed to God, and that we are being consistent in that. I think that's the biggest thing that I have been learning lately, is being consistent in everything that I do, especially when it comes to my relationship with Christ. So thank you again for those of you who joined, for those of you who watched virtually. If you would like to sow or give into our ministry here, you can do so through Cash App or Giveify. You can also mail it in. We also ask that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, our website, and I'm missing something. YouTube, sorry. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website. We also have an app that you can download through the App Store or the Android App Store, whatever that is. Yeah, so we'll end out here on a word of prayer. So Lord, we just thank you for this lesson today, God. We thank you for teaching us about your love, your grace, and your mercy. We thank you for helping us to understand that we have to be consistent and committed in our relationship with you, God. We just ask that whatever it is that we may be going through right now, that you would give us the strength to be able to go through it, that we learn whatever it is that we need to learn in order to get the lesson that you have been trying to teach us, God, and that we can apply that. We can really let it take root into our hearts, so that whenever it is we go through something else, we can make sure that we still apply those same lessons and things that you have taught to us. We just ask that you will heal us, deliver us, save us from whatever it is that we are going through. We just ask that you would increase our relationship with you, Lord, and allow for you to teach us whatever it is that we need to know. So we just thank you for this lesson. We ask that you will bless every single person who is here, that we will return to our homes